We all set there, the clerk?
We are, yes.
All set?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So it's 6:30 PM on Monday, February the 22nd. And this is the regular meeting of municipal council for the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal for the month of February. It's a virtual hybrid meeting. All of the councilors are at their desks. And the CAO and the Director of Operations are present in the chamber. The clerk and others are going to be participating by Zoom. So that gets the meeting started, and chair is looking for approval of the agenda. Deputy Mayor Deschamps, I believe you have the motion.
Sorry, I heard something. And I believe, is it amended agenda?
Yes, I would say as amended.
As amended, okay. So moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council approves the agenda as amended.
Yeah, and I think we should also add delete item 8I.
And so I can write that in.
Yeah.
Does he hold banners, Mr. Mayor?
Say again?
Hold banners?
No, 8I is application for a site plan control.
Yeah, 1028. 8I, right?
Yeah.
So delete item 8I. And there you go.
Okay, so the motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any. Hearing none, vote to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. Right, and then I'm moving then to item number 3 on the agenda, which is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Are there any disclosures here this evening? Chair hears no disclosures, and the minutes will so reflect. And so now I'm moving on to item 4 on the agenda, delegations and presentations. And there are 2 presentations here tonight. The first will be Ethan Boss, who will speak briefly about Green Shirt Day. And the second delegation will be Mr. Stephen White, our consultant for our insurance request for proposals. So Ethan, I haven't met you, only read your emails, and I still can't see you. Can you join the meeting? There he is. So welcome to the meeting, Ethan, and you wanted to speak about Green Shirt Day. So you've got 10 minutes, and then the councilors may have 1 or 2 questions. And just to let you know, the proposed motion, which proclaims Green Shirt Day, is on the agenda, but it will come later on the agenda after your presentation. So go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, as well as you've already know, my name is Ethan Boss, and I'm here to present again Green Shirt Day, which is in honor of organ donation and the Logan Blay effect. So I have a very short PowerPoint presentation for you. So on April 6, 2018, there was a horrible crash with the Humboldt Broncos hockey team. On that day, 16 people died and 13 people were injured. One of those players who died was Logan Blay. This tragedy affected people around the world, but there is goodness that came to light from this tragic event. The Blay family let the world know that their son, Logan, signed his organ donor card. They honored his wishes and his organs were donated. 2 things happened because of this donation. 6 people who were waiting for an organ were saved. Secondly, there were over 100,000 people that signed their organ card after Logan's parents, but it is out to the public about what he did. Today, there are over 300,000 that got collected by the Ottawa transplant services. So from this, it came to be called the Logan Belay effect. Logan was inspired by his mentor, his nickname was Sluggo, who was an organ donor. They both signed their card, and because of this, they both helped save 12 people. On April 7th, 6 lives were saved. Unfortunately, 200 people die every year waiting for an organ transplant. There are over 4,500 people who are waiting for an organ donation in Canada. There are over 37.59 million people that live in Canada. That means 1 out of 8,353 Canadians are waiting for an organ. 90% of Canadians say that they support organ donation, yet only 23% have registered. One organ donor can save up to 8 lives. A tissue donor can improve the lives of up to 6 patients. Age doesn't matter. Canada's oldest organ donor was over 90 years old. It is so easy that it only takes a minute to sign up to possibly help save a life. Talk with your family and loved ones about your decision to become a registered organ donor. One of the most important things that Logan's donation did was it brought awareness to the knowledge of organ donation in Canada. Due to the Logan Belay effect, over 300,000 people have signed their organ donor card in the last 2 years. Let's make April 7th from now on Green Shirt Day in Canada. Live life, pass it on.
So that's a very good presentation, Ethan, and I'll just open it up to the council members here to see if they have questions for you. I know that as part of your presentation, you presented the motion. So do council members have any questions for Ethan? Okay, so I'll start with Councilor Dillabaugh. So can you see us, Ethan?
Yes, I can.
Okay, Councilor Dillabaugh is going to go first.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Ethan. Good luck. I hope you get the rest of the municipalities involved in this. Very great presentation, and I thank you so much. I'm very, very involved in this. I went through this 10 years ago with my sister-in-law, and I signed on that night. So again, thank you so much, and good luck down the road.
Thank you.
Councilor Cameron.
Yes, thank you, Ethan, so much. This also is quite close to me. All the best on your procession forward, and I hope every person or delegation that you present takes you up on your request. I'm just wondering. I'm just curious about the green shirt. Is there a green shirt format or template of a green shirt that is there?
So I actually managed to buy a jersey that I own. It is here.
Yes.
And then underneath it, there's an actual shirt that you can get as well. So.
Okay, fantastic. And is there any way, is there somewhere where, if so desired by our municipality, can we buy these shirts somewhere?
Yes, at greenshirtday.ca.
Okay, thank you so much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go around the other side of the table. Councilor Hunter.
No, I don't have any questions. Just congratulate you on getting involved on this terrible tragedy at the time there affected whole Canada, and it's certainly glad to see a local member getting involved in being active in this. Congratulations.
And Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Well done, Ethan. Great presentation. And even a better, use of how do I say this properly? It's a wonderful, ambitious project to try to get people to support and sign their organ donator cards. mine signed. I think you're doing a wonderful job, and keep at it. And if you need any help moving forward, give me a shout out, and I'll be happy to help.
Okay,
So
Thank you.
I'll just close the presentation by once again thanking you. I intend to support your resolution to proclaim April the 7th as Green Shirt Day. And that motion will come forward just a little bit later on in the agenda. If you'd like to stay on the Zoom meeting and kind of watch through the meeting until that comes up, you're welcome to do so. And then you can just see your motion coming on the floor and see the councillors. I'm sure they'll be supporting your motion, but I don't want to speak for them. But it'll be about another 20 minutes, I think, before we get there. So once again, thank you very much.
thank you.
We're going to move on then to item number 4B on the agenda, which is the presentation from Mr. Stephen White, our insurance consultant that helped us through the request for proposal. So, Mr. White, I think you're with us. And I know that we have your report in front of us, and give you an opportunity to speak to your report, and also let you know that there are 2 items resulting from your report that are on the agenda for tonight. And I'll deal with them a little bit later on, and perhaps during the question period. So go ahead.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, very good.
Okay, so I prepared the report which I worked on that addressed both the insurance programs for the municipality and for the port. When I started this project, it was recognized, and I did a presentation meeting to, I think, some of the council members last summer, and I explained that the market that provides these insurances is made up of 4 main organizations, each of which is highly credible in providing insurance program coverage for municipalities. Your incumbent insurance provider is called BFL, with whom you've been dealing for a great many years. They provide the insurance program for the township and for the port. When the RFP process is to ensure that the most competitive terms are provided for each of those entities, and that the terms that are available are studied to see whether they meet the needs of the municipality and the port. There are, as I mentioned, there are 4 main providers. BFL, of course, your incumbent. Cowan, which is probably the longest and more established of the providers, although the others have been around for a long time. JLT Marsh and Aon. Each of these proponents was provided with full documentation to enable them to respond to the RFP process. Only 3 of them did. Aon was unable to provide a response. To give you some background, the insurance market for municipalities has had a pretty rough ride over the last year or 2. Some of the claims that have been hitting the insurance market for municipalities include a large numbers of heavy, expensive slip and fall, trip and fall cases, which have accumulated the dollar loss, some significant property losses, including heavy flood losses in some areas. The premiums that people have been paying over the last 6 or 7 years have been relatively competitive. The insurance market from about 2012, 2014 was competing for insurance premiums. And in fact, the premium levels that municipalities paid stayed pretty flat. Now the market has become harder. The insurance terms that were issued last year showed increases over those terms for the previous years. And it is not unusual for renewals for a lot of municipalities now to see 20 to 25% increases. Those that have had heavy claims experience are getting more significant premium increases. So the upshot was that we had 3 proposals for the municipal insurance program, but we only had 1 proposal for the port's insurance program that's provided through BFL. The port's program is placed entirely in the London market, it is separate from the municipal program, and the insurance market for port risks is not any easier than it is for municipalities. I had hoped that Aon, who have a program that insures a large number of the Canadian ports, would be responsive. In the final analysis, they were not. The premium levels that you've got for the port program now, providing exactly the same cover as expiring, show a premium increase of 15%. So the review process was relatively short, I'm afraid, in that there is only the one proposal to consider, so there's no choice there. When it comes to the municipal program, the difficulty or the sensitive points I've got of concern are the increases in flood deductibles that are applied by both BFL and Marsh. I think I mentioned that some of the insurance markets that insure municipalities have taken some heavy flood loss claims, and they're looking at underwriting this more aggressively. Your incumbent BFL's underwriter for the property coverage is American International Group, AIG, one of the largest insurers in the world, and you've probably heard of them. AIG, and I've seen this on previous municipal programs, have imposed pretty steep flood deductibles, particularly where you've got municipal locations that are close to large bodies of water, either Lake Ontario or St. Lawrence River in your case. What happened with BFL was that they said, we will provide renewal, but the deductible for flood, which was $50,000 for any one claim, is going to be increased to $100,000, but for the water treatment plant is $250,000. Marsh, when they put their proposal together, stipulated flood deductible would be $250,000 for every claim. Cowan, on the other hand, stayed with the traditional market deductible of $50,000. So that's an important consideration. However, Cowan's is the more expensive program at about $280,000. BFL is just under $260,000. To BFL's credit, they only increased the premiums by 4.95% last year. That in my opinion is very credible. Cowan had some limitations in their cover, which I explained in my report. They reduced the environmental liability cover, where you previously had 10 million down to 5, although 5 is not a low number, and I don't consider that Edwardsburg Cardinal is a particularly serious environmental hazard type risk. You have a limited number of storage tanks, and I don't believe it's a serious problem. But anyway, that's an important consideration. One of the things that you need to be aware of, however, is that pretty well all insurance programs now are having a COVID-19 communicable disease exclusion right across the board. And you'll be reading in the papers about the actions against insurance companies on class action basis to try and get massive payments out of insurance companies for businesses that have been closed down due to COVID. So they're reacting by simply excluding it, and it's a market exclusion. Financially, I think some insurance companies are going to be in very serious trouble with these COVID claims. Aviva is one company that's had some pretty serious losses, and that's quite serious. So that the end result was that I made, and I think you'll see it in my report, the final recommendations, because of the flood deductible, and I've seen this with other municipalities, they are very sensitive to it. That was my recommendation, to take the minimum deductible, which is offered by Cowan's, albeit that their premium is higher. On the other hand, I do realize that BFL have been the long-term provider. They provide both insurance programs at the moment. They've been a very reasonable premium increase, and I believe they've served you well in terms of the coverages that you've enjoyed. So it isn't an easy choice, but I gave that recommendation for the reasons I explained. Does that seem to make reasonable sense to everybody?
If I can just pipe up here, it does for me. So am I looking, I'm just talking about the municipal side right now.
Yeah, there isn't a lot to talk about at the port, I'm afraid.
Well, I'll talk about that in a minute. But on the municipal side, so we're looking at, as I read the report, and I'm looking at page 17 of your report, I see a total premium of, and I'm just talking premium now without the tax, of $283.11, compared with, if I read the report correctly, 259,514 last year. Is that correct?
I haven't got the report direct. Let me just have a look. So you're looking at the Cowan premium.
Yes. 283.11.
It's $280,311.
Yeah.
And
compared
looking
with-
at and the
compared with
BFL
last year.
and the BFL premium last year was 259,000, and this year it's $272,351.
Yes, but I'm just looking at the Cowan compared to last year's. And I'm trying to, I didn't do the math on it, but it's just a little over, was around 6%, isn't it?
Well, if you go from 260 to 280, yeah, I mean, that's probably right. Yeah, that would be about right, wouldn't it? Yes.
So compared to other municipalities around us that are seeing as much as 30%, and I'm aware of United Counties, I think it's 15%. I think, I'm quite happy with the Cowan proposal at the 6%.
Are you with me as far as the flood deductible is concerned?
Beg pardon?
Do you go along with my thinking about the flood deductible?
Oh, yes, I'm quite worried about that.
Yeah, that was the thing. I don't know how you perceive it. You've never had a flood loss in the past. Your loss experience has been very good as far as property losses are concerned, but it could happen in the future, of course.
And I think everybody is aware. I mean, I don't think it'll happen again, but in 2019, I think it was, we did face heavy flooding along the St. Lawrence, and I'm sure that that's widely known in the marketplace.
So that would the AIG have agreed to review it, but nothing is promised.
So let's just talk about the municipal for a minute. Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. White with regard to the municipal?
Question.
Yes.
Yes, under auto fleet on your big spreadsheet, it's on the second page. Auto fleet, and it's got family protection, $100 or $1 million, and then recommended increase.
Yes.
Was there a recommendation?
Yes, it's in the report. Is to increase it to $2 million at an additional premium of $189.
Okay, thank you so much.
Do you know what that is, by the way?
Well, go ahead.
What happens is, and you should have this on your own car insurance as well. If you're involved in an automobile accident, which is not your fault, but that of the third party for whom that third party may not have more than, say, $1 million worth of liability insurance, and your claim against them is worth, for argument's sake, $2 million, the family protection endorsement says that your insurance company itself will pay the difference. So the difference of the additional $1 million will be paid by that family protection endorsement. So it's a protection against other people having inadequate auto insurance.
Now, is that what we used to call third-party liability?
No, not at all.
No, okay.
It's a consumer protection thing. When I tell people about their own car insurance, I say most insurance companies, when they quote a premium, will only provide a $1 million third-party liability limit. And I tell people you should buy no less than 2 million. So if you have 2 million, but other people haven't been buying that, you've got the comfort of being protected at least up to 2 million. If you want, you could buy more, of course. The problem with Cowan's is 2 million is their maximum they offer for this endorsement. And for $189, I don't think it's much of a decision.
Good. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Other questions here with Mr. White's recommendations? Okay, so, okay, go ahead.
Through the mayor to Mr. White, under the Marsh and the Cowan coverage options and down to the environmental liability, $5 million limit, but in the RFP it was a $10 million limit. What can we do about that to get it to 10 million?
Well, Cowan's don't have any more coverage for environmental. So we would have to go to what we call the open market to get a quotation to provide excess limits.
Can I continue?
Go ahead.
So if we were to find ourselves in a $5 million plus situation, we would be at risk?
If you, without buying increased limits, yes, you would.
Okay.
Do you have, I mean, I don't recall, other than the storage tanks, is there much of an environmental potential in your community?
We have our water and sewer on the St. Lawrence River.
Okay, well, that could possibly create a nightmare, couldn't it?
Absolutely.
So my thinking, that's important.
That was one of my really concerns.
No, fair enough, because I mentioned that in the report, and it's
It's right on the river too.
yeah. I mean, isn't it a shame we've got Cowans with the great deductible and their lower limits for environmental.
But
So the issue is, can we buy increased limits? And I think the answer is yes.
At an additional premium.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
well, yeah, I know, but again, when you think of the risk, I mean, what is the limit right now? It's 5 million?
Only $5 million.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
It's only $5 million, not 10.
And 5 for all claims.
Correct.
So I mean, I consider that to be relatively minor risk, considering the, you know, but do you have any idea what the excess liability would be for another?
Normally you can budget about 60% of the first 5 million premium. And in Cowan's case, the environmental premium is $11,900. So let's say it's another $7,000. I mean, I'm only guessing, but that's possible.
Okay, other questions coming here?
One thing before I forget to mention it, Cowans use a local broker called Halpenny, who are based in Ottawa, so they would provide all the local service. They don't charge anything for that. That's taken out of Cowan's revenue. My suggestion would be that if you do want to go ahead, we ask Halpenny to get a quote for 5x of 5 right away.
Go ahead.
Just one, and if I mean, I know how I think about this, but it's important to me to understand what our CAO thinks about this as well. So I'd like to hear the CAO speak to this too. If it be the will.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Mr. White and I have had a couple of conversations on this, and I certainly respect the flood deductible concern that he has raised. But in the overall, I think that the VFL proposal is a more fulsome proposal with respect to the meeting the full RFP, and there certainly is no doubt that flood deductible is is certainly a potential concern.
So the chair's at a loss as to where we are. We have Mr. White's recommendation here. Are you contrary to the recommendation?
I would say that staff's recommendation would be BFL. However, council went with the consultant. I understand his perspective.
I mean, the 250, what is it? The deductible on the other one is just absolutely horrendous. Not even conscionable, really, in my mind.
BFL with our, we budget 15% for our insurance overall. If you look at the big picture, we're going to save another 27,000 because it only went up 5%. We've been budgeting for our insurance to go up to 15. So That's another $27,000 we can save right there from DFL. Plus, it's 8,000 cheaper than Frank County, so we're only looking at $100,000. We're only looking really, what, $15,000 from the 100.
Yeah, but then all you're doing is comparing premium to premium. You're not comparing the,
But you're not comparing apples to apples now.
no, well, that's the choice they give you. That's the choice they give you.
One thing that, just to speak to Dave's point, there is an option offered by BFL, which I recommend. If you choose to go with them, you can increase the property claim deductible. That's for other fire and other type losses from $10,000 to $25,000 and save almost $9,000 annual premium. And I recommend that because you haven't had any claims in all the years that I've seen on the loss record. So you only need to go for 2 years, more or less, and you're ahead of the game.
Go ahead.
Are you with me?
Flood seems, Mr. White, flood seems to be the biggest concern for everyone. And
Well, that's why I made the recommendation.
yeah, for sure. So what areas, water, I'm assuming the area that we have of concern that could be costly would be our water intake area, like our water plant?
Well, the water treatment plant is certainly hit with that big deductible, isn't it? Yeah.
Right, for sure. And
Now they have said, but before they have said to pick up on Dave Grant's point, that if they look at the flood mapping, they will reconsider that deductible. Now, I'm not an expert on flood mapping by any means, but I think Dave, you told me that the berm that surrounds the water treatment plant is in excess of the high water mark ever recorded, right? But
Well, I don't know that. That's why we built it.
I think that's what I was told. The catch is, of course, underwriters will say, well, yeah, but that's the case with other flood claims. And then, gosh darn it, the darn water went even higher with more recent flooding. So I don't know what the margin of security is with the berm that is around the water treatment plant. If it's really very, very impressive, you might well get AIG to reverse off that deductible. But given the timing, I didn't want to assume that we would be successful.
Did you want to respond?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, yeah. So the berm construction is 0.3 meters above the geodetic elevation of the high water mark.
That's 30 centimeters. Just the wave. That's just high waves. And the thing is, the berm is not a complete circle around the water treatment plant. It's a partial berm.
Well, does that mean the water could run around the back?
High enough it could, yeah.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I didn't realize, but isn't that sort of leaving you very vulnerable?
Well, that's my worry. I mean, I know when we constructed the berm, our thinking was that we would get above the LIDAR mapping, but excuse me just one second, I'm having trouble here. Excuse me just one second. 30 centimeters is hardly high water wavelength, wave height. And so that's why I'm so concerned about that deductible on that one, because any kind of an overflowing there is a major, well, I mean, it's just disaster if water was to get into our water treatment plant. And what is that deductible again? 250?
$250,000.
Yeah, $250,000, $250,000. I mean, that's well beyond anything that we would be able to handle.
Mr. Mayor, if I can ask a question regarding that 30 centimeters, where is that 30 centimeters taken from?
No, from the height of the berm.
The height of the berm is 30 centimeters.
No, the height of the berm, I think you said was
30 centimeters above the established 1 to 100 floodplain.
Right, right,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, but also, it's my understanding that the St. Lawrence River, because it's a controlled river, the height can be controlled up and down, is not classified as a floodplain.
Well, that's not true.
That's not true.
The
Well, I
river
know
can't
that.
be controlled.
Yes, it can.
No,
By the
that's-
lock. Of course it can.
No, no, that was established in 2019.
Yeah, okay, okay, anyway, I'm not 100% up on it, but it's my understanding that a controlled river is not is really not a
Well, it's
floodplain.
controlled for low water, but not for high water.
Well, if you open them,
Well,
okay, all right,
that's what I went through in 2019. I'm an expert on that one.
all right. I'm not going to debate that, but
The berm that was built at the time was with South Nation Conservation Authority through the National Disaster Mitigation Fund, right?
Right.
To fund it, and it was built to the specifications that it was suggested to be built at, correct? Through the chair to the CAO?
That is correct at the time.
Councillor Hunter, where are you here?
We seem to be talking a lot about flooding here. I'm not really that worried about the flooding. More worried about the environmental. On an environmental disaster, what's the deductible on it?
10,000, I do believe.
10 million limit. One's a 10 million limit and the other's a 5 million limit.
What's the
The
deductible?
deductible
25.
with
25.
is $25,000. If you went with Marsh, which you wouldn't, they put in 100,000, so that's not very good. Cowan's is also 25,000, but they've only got a 5 million limit.
I don't really worry too much about that $250,000 deductible for flooding. I think the odds are pretty slim. I think we have a lot higher chance of having an environmental impact with the sewage plant or something dumping than we have them the water plant flooding, so.
100%.
Okay, so where is everybody on the municipal? Let's get there first.
BFL for me.
BFL for me.
I'm Cal.
I'm Calvin as well.
I don't know, we've been with BFL for quite a while, and I think that we got that 4% increase due to the long service. Definitely. I think I gotta go with BFL, maybe a little bit background. We were with Cowan and Edwardsburg Cardinal for a lot of years. We had a couple of focuses with them, that's why we're not with Cowan now, so I think I'd have to go with BFL.
Deputy Mayor wants in again.
Just one quick question, if I may, and through the mayor to Mr. White again. Mr. White, and I know we're not talking about the port now, but I'm just trying to compare in the port one, I read that there is basically a loyalty discount that's applied to BFL or a continuity.
Or the underwriters provide it, yes.
Yes, I don't see that with this one, even though we're continuing. Is it included in the premiums or do they just not include one?
No, they don't have a specific discount. That's their price.
But they do for the port.
Well, there's a different insurance market, of course. The port is insured by Lloyd's in London, who have nothing to do with the municipal program. So they're two entirely separate insurance programs.
Okay, so I have a number of questions that I want to get out here with regard to these premiums. So first of all, with regard to the BFL, I'm talking municipal here for a minute. The BFL municipal is 272. What is the broker's commission rate on that?
They disclose their commissions, but I think it's roughly 15%.
Roughly 15%?
Well, because I think it's 12.5 on auto, it's 15 on the other covers. Some of the minor covers have different percentages, but it's a rule of thumb is about 15%.
And Collins would be roughly the same?
Oh yeah, they're all about the same.
And I can rely on that?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that concerns me, and I'm very concerned, I still am, about no quotations on the port. And I'm very concerned about our service last year because I know it didn't go to market. And obviously it didn't go to market this year either.
Well, it went to market, but we didn't get a response.
Well, I'm not sure. It's easy to say that the reason that we didn't get a response was the hard market, but I think there are other factors that may have come into play here. And I know that it's all underwritten at Lloyd's, and Lloyd's is not the easiest market to get into. We all understand that. Now we know that, we learned that from our relationship with BFL in the past, that it was it was a difficult market to get into. And it worries me that we've been with BFL for so long that nobody else can get into that market on our behalf. Now, there are quite a number of underwriters at the Lloyd's facility. What would be our steps to get another response to our port coverage?
Well, if you were to go, say for example, you want to review it next year, next renewal, you can certainly go to the market independently. You don't have to go through an RFP process, but you would look at the competing. One of the things you'll notice in Marsh's presentation is they tout their marine market expertise, but for whatever reason they were unable to provide a quotation. My suggestion would be that if you do want to look at it next year, you would put together a presentation that explains the port program in detail 3 months in advance, with the expectation that the market would be able to respond. And I would use either Marsh or possibly Aon.
Well, it's bothering me that, I mean, I'm still upset about the $400,000 or the $40,000 increase last year after the renewal date. And that was never properly explained to me. And it just worries me that the relationship with BFL has come to the point where, you know, we have an alternative in front of us now for the municipal, and in my opinion, it's time to begin looking elsewhere, especially when they're not able to give us a better pricing on the port coverage. It bothers me, and I know enough about insurance to know that there are reasons that Aon and Marsh were not able to quote on the port. And I also know that from a previous conversation that there was some misunderstanding, or at least some issues around who was our broker of record going into this process. And you and I talked about that, and I think I clarified that to you by providing you with a number of documents from a council meeting. But I'm just wondering if somehow along the way we may have been shortchanged, if I can put it that way, by a misunderstanding as to exactly who was qualified to get into that London market.
Are you asking me, or?
Yeah.
I can't comment on what was understood last time, but we clarified when Cowan pointed out that when they were approached in previous years, you'd got this commitment, and that was where we confirmed that the BFL appointment was not renewed through until June of 2021, which meant that all of those markets had the opportunity to provide a quote.
Now, would Cowan have been able to leverage that information at the London level?
Cowan said they wouldn't to entertain providing a marine market quote for the ports right off the bat. So my expectation was that they were not comfortable or competent in their own minds to provide a program for you.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That's Cowan's are the outfit we deal with. And by the way, Cowan's are now owned by Intact Insurance, but the Cowan municipal people specialize in that in isolation.
Okay, and then there's just one other question that I want to ask to sort of tie this together, because at item number, where is it on our agenda here? We have, I'm just looking to see where it is. Maybe the CAO can help me here. Where is it on our agenda?
We're looking at the council resolution, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, for the renewals.
It would be
You.
8 T on the new one, or U on the previous one.
Right. So we have two things that we're dealing with here tonight, and the first is the township and the port insurance award, and then later on in the agenda we have a bylaw to appoint brokers of record. Now, what worries me about appointing brokers of record, I'm just going to ask you to clarify this. The way the bylaw is written, it was presumptive of the fact that council would go with your recommendation for Cowan and appoint them for 1 year, and VFL would be the port supplier for another year, and they would be appointed for a year. So my question was, do we in any way reduce our access to markets by making those 1 year appointments by bylaw tonight?
I don't think you need to do that.
Can you explain what you're saying?
When you renew the port program with BFL for 1 year, they are the broker of record because that is the placement that you agreed. The insurance policy runs for 12 months. They are the broker on that, and that's the tenure that they have. The municipal program, if it's awarded to Cowan, would be for the 12 months, and that would be that. You do not have to pass a bylaw saying they are the broker. If you award them the policy, they already are. And when that policy expires, you have the option of either to renew or to go an RFP process again and make a different choice if you choose to do so. Appointing, having brokers of record appointments as a separate bylaw does not seem appropriate. And I have not seen that with other municipalities. I think you lock yourself in for no advantage.
Okay, I appreciate that, getting that clarified, because that was my worry as well. And so I think you provided a good advice on that one. So, you know, I'm just saying to council that when it comes to that bylaw, I'm going to raise that issue, that I don't think there's a necessity to pass that bylaw.
No.
And so if there are any other questions about that, now's your opportunity to ask Mr. White about that. Otherwise, I'm going to be asking that bylaw not come forward.
Is that 11F, Mr. Mayor?
I have it on mine as 11G, appoint insurance broker. Now, there is a new agenda. Yeah, well, I don't, okay. Okay, so yes, it is 11F on the new agenda.
And we're taking that off the table, Mr. Mayor?
Well, that was your opportunity. I'm for taking it off the table, and I want that on record. And I'll be hoping that it doesn't come forward.
Well, who would put it forward, Mr. Mayor?
Well, it's on the agenda, and there is as the agenda is written right now, the motion to bring it forward would be Councillor Dillabaugh.
Okay, well, I'll
It's
let
in
you
his
do it.
possession, and, you know, I'm asking that it not come forward.
Okay.
So CIO wants in here again?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, may just want to defer to the clerk for maybe a comment with respect to the reasoning for the bylaw.
So through the CIO to the clerk?
So through the Municipal Act Section 281, the municipality may contract for insurance to pay for any part of premiums for or any damages to risks, costs, etc. Us as a municipality, we have done this as best practice to make it an official bylaw, as well as it gives something to the insurance brokers rather than just a resolution of council.
Well, as Mr. White points out, he doesn't see that as necessarily best practices in other municipalities, because by the awarding of the annual coverage, it is in effect the same thing as appointing them as broker for that year. So that's what's guiding me here. Okay.
Can I ask Mr. White?
Yes, go ahead.
So, Mr. White, in you know, like, your expertise for your field is wonderful, but when it comes to the Municipal Act, and you haven't seen it before, but like, do you know? I don't know Section 280 of the Municipal Act myself. Do you know it, or are you familiar with it?
No, sorry.
No, but there's nothing in the act that requires an appointment. We have to award the insurance. That's
right. And the award is effectively the appointment for the period that the contract runs. If you were adamant you wanted to keep this bylaw, you would confine the appointment to exactly the same period as the policy. The catch we had beforehand was that the broker appointment ran beyond the expiry date of the policy, didn't it?
yes.
And that would have created a real pickle if we had not been able to go to an RFP.
Right.
But wasn't that done on purpose?
Yes, it was done on purpose, that it would end before the renewal came out. That's why it was to June of 2020, when we knew that the renewal would be coming in the latter half of 2020 to take effect in 2021. Okay, unless there are other questions, I'm going to proceed here. Mr. White, we have a number of other issues on the agenda here. I wonder if you would, well, first of all, just want to clear one thing up. Well, next year is a new year completely, and you're suggesting that we start earlier next year.
Oh yeah.
That's the first thing. All right, so I'm wondering if you'd be available for about the next hour, just in case there are additional questions that arise. Although I don't, once we get into motions on the floor, I don't regularly entertain discussions outside the council members at a council meeting. I mean, the time for those things to occur is during committee meetings. But we haven't had the advantage of spending a full committee meeting with you, so we appreciate the time that we're spending with you this evening. Does anybody have any final questions for Mr. White before we thank him for his presentation so far? Okay, hearing none, I'm about to move on.
Well, just a minute. Have we made a decision on whether you were going to renew with BFL for the municipal program or Cowan?
Well, the way I read the table, I think there's a decision has been made, but it just hasn't been action by resolution. And that will come at the appropriate item on the agenda. And I think I've heard 3 councillors say that they want to go with BFL, and 2 councillors say that they are prepared to go with Cowan. So contrary to your recommendation.
That's perfectly understandable. I respect the decision you make, and I respect the reasons for it.
The problems that we have is that if we do choose to move in that direction, I think then there'll be a more fulsome debate, because one of the issues that you bring up is that if we go with BFL, we should be looking for the higher deductibles on a couple of those coverage.
Yeah, certainly on the property, because I believe that's an appropriate saving. And at the same time, if you go with BFL, we'll hope that we can get some relief from AIG on the flood deductible for the water treatment plant. So there's that. Well, look, I mean, I have a commitment little in a short while here, but I'm at my house. So you've got my phone numbers. Do you think you'll have more issues that you'd like to talk about later?
Well, let's just find out. I mean, if there's anybody that wants more talk with Mr. White, now's the time.
And there's nothing to stop you calling me if you would like.
Okay, I think we'll take you up on that offer then. But I see nobody's asking any additional questions right now, and I think everybody's aware of where this is, where this may be headed, although I don't want to prejudge it. So thanks very much, and appreciate your work getting us to this point. And
okay,
we'll see how things turn out at midnight tonight.
Oh, it goes that late?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, you'll need a couple of stiff ones to see you that long, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Well, look. Take care. And as I say, if you have something that comes up, you've got the 905 number, which is the main line, and you got my cell number. But I was planning on having a glass of wine, so
make mine a double.
Okay.
All right, I'm moving on.
Very much.
Item number 4 on the agenda is minutes of previous council meetings. And the first one is the meeting of January the 18th, Councillor Dillabaugh. I think you have that one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Cameron, that the municipality council receives and approves the minutes of a special meeting dated January 18th, 2021.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Are there any errors or omissions? And I see that I'll deal with business arising on the next item on the agenda, so I won't ask for business arising at this point. So no issues with errors or omissions. About to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And then I'm turning to the regular meeting of January the 25th. Councillor Hunter.
With myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, the municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the special meeting dated January 26, 2021.
26th or 25th? 25th. You said 26th.
Okay, so 25th, and are there any errors or omissions here? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And I'm moving on then to item number 6, which is business arising. Now, is there any business arising from either of those 2 meetings? Hearing none. Going on then with item number 7, which is approval of various committee meetings for committees minutes that were held during meetings that were held during the month. And the first is the Public Library Board meeting of November the 24th. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps that the municipal council receives the minutes of the Public Library Board meeting dated November 24th, 2020.
Thank you very much. Now, are there any discussion or questions with these minutes? Hearing none, I'm about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And then the Port Management Committee meeting of January the 20th. And Deputy Mayor Deschamps, I think you have that
I
motion.
do. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council receives the minutes of the Port Management Committee meeting dated January 20th, 2021.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor? Motion is carried. And then moving then to Committee of the Whole, the Administration and Finance Committee meeting of February the 4th. Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, the municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole Administration and Finance meeting dated February 4th, 2021.
And just for the gallery, I'll point out that this was budget meeting number 4 of the current 2021 budget cycle. And so now, are there any questions with regard to these minutes? Hearing none, I vote to call. Those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Motion is carried. The minutes are approved. And then I have the Administration and Finance Committee meeting of February the 8th. Councillor Dillabaugh, I believe you have that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron that the municipality council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole and Administration Finance meeting dated February 8th, 2021.
Okay, and so are there any issues with regard to these minutes? I'm going to point out one thing in these minutes. I'll do it after the meeting, after the minutes are approved, because the minutes are correct. So those in favor? Motion is carried. So now I draw your attention to page 46 of 358. And I draw your attention to the motion that starts at the halfway point of the page where committee is recommending that council participate in the commuter service. And at note number 3, that the contribution is subject to council approval of details being provided for the final project. And it was my suggestion that condition number 3 be added to the motion and that the word be approval. And I'm going to say at this point that I think that was the wrong word to use at that point in time. And I will be asking for a different word to appear in the actual motion, and I'll explain why when we get there. But just note that, and I'm fully disclosing that it was me that used the word approval, and it was the wrong word to use at the time. I apologize.
Okay.
And so I'm at item number 7E, which is Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, Facilities. Councillor Cameron, I believe you
Yes.
have that motion.
Yes, I do. Thank you again. It's moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps that municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities dated February 16th, 2021.
Thank you very much. Any questions with regard to these minutes? Hearing none. Those in favor? Motion is carried. Now, Ethan, are you still with us? I don't know whether he is or not. I see his name is still there.
Yeah, his microphone.
Yeah, I'm still here.
And so we're at item number 8 on the agenda, and item number 8A is your resolution, Ethan, to proclaim Green Shirt Day. And Councillor Dillabaugh will be bringing that motion forward. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron that whereas of April 7th, 2018, a young Canadian named Logan Boulay became an organ donor in the aftermath of a tragic Bronco bus crash, which resulted in Logan saving the lives of 6 other people. And whereas Logan Boulay's story has inspired hundreds and thousands of people around the world to register an organ and tissue donors. And whereas there's more than 4,000 people in Canada on the waiting list on the organ donation of transplant operations. And whereas one organ and tissue donor can save up to 8 lives, improve the life and health of up to 75 other people. And whereas the Canadian Transplant Association, the family of Logan Belay, will carry on Logan's legacy by recognizing April 7th as Green Shirt Day to raise awareness of the need for registered organ and tissue donors so that access to life savings and life transforming transplants can be improved. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal proclaims April 7th, 2021 and all future years as a Green Shirt Day to inspire organ and tissue donor registration with the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal.
Okay, pass the motion to Councillor Cameron. Okay, the motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any. The mayor is going to call for a recorded vote on the motion, and I'll call the roll. Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Dillabaugh, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Hunter, how do you vote?
Yay.
Mayor, Deputy Mayor Deschamps, how do you vote?
Yay.
And the mayor votes yay. So, Ethan, your motion is approved unanimously by the council. So thank you very much for your interest in this topic, and we'll try to make this motion widespread notice on the township's website. So thank you once again.
Awesome job, Ethan.
Question, Mr.
Thank you.
Brown. Would it be possible to send a copy of that resolution to Ethan for his records, and perhaps all of the councilors would sign it?
So to the clerk, would the clerk through the chair, through the CEO to the clerk? I see the CEO is nodding, so we'll send you a copy of this, Ethan.
Thank you.
All righty, so I'm moving on now, folks, and the next item is item 8B on the agenda, which is the 2021 Spencerville Storm Water Management Capital Project. Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that municipal council grant pre-budget approval to undertake the engineering, design, and begin phase 1 of the Spencerville Drainage Project with an upset limit of $150,000 in 2021, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Administration and Finance.
Thank you very much. This item has been well discussed at committee level. Questions, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And moving then to 8C, the Drainage Act changes. Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, where the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, OMAFRA, is proposing a new ministry regulation to implement the amendments made to the Drainage Act under the COVID-19 Economic Recovery Act that requires royal assent on July 21st, received royal assent on July 21st, 2020, and whereas the minister's regulation intends to implement the following changes. 1, provide a simplified process for minor improvements to municipal drains. 2, simplify the process for approving updates to engineers' reports for changes to the design made during construction. And 3, adoption of the Drainage Act and Conservation Authorities Act protocol by reference. Whereas the changes listed above will likely facilitate quicker approval of those projects that meet the criteria for minor improvements. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal supports the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs and new ministry regulation to implement the amendments to the Drainage Act under COVID-19 Economic Recovery Act.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Just basically supporting South Nation's position. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And then item 8D, the PDF remediation software. Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council authorize the purchase of Equidox software for the $2,800 and that the cost be funded from the modernization fund as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Administration and Finance.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And item 8E, a letter to MPP Clark concerning our modernization fund. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Yes, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council authorize the mayor to send the interim modernization fund report to MPP Clark with thanks for the provincial modernization funding as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Administration and Finance.
Good, thank you very much. Discussion, if any, hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And item number 8F, 2020 work in progress, Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council direct the treasurer to carry forward the funds for the work in progress projects as identified, in order that the work in progress projects continue to be funded in 2021, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Administration and Finance.
Like you just say, bringing forward a total of 387,000. Up to you.
I'm very comfortable with saying bringing forward a total of 387,000 and 7.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
So, and this is money that was raised in 2020 that will now be carried forward for completion of these projects in 2021. Further discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And item number 8G, which is the 2021 cost of living increase, Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter, that municipal council approves the cost of living increase for all full-time, non-union staff and council members of 0.94% retroactive to January 1, 2021, as per the Personnel Policy Bylaw 2015-22 and the Expense Reimbursement Policy Bylaw 2019-63, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Administration and Finance.
Thank you very much. Now, discussion, if any, on this matter? Hearing none, I'm about to call the question. And we use November over November from the Ontario OMERS Pension Fund. And those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And for our negotiating committee, I'll just point out that that increase was 0.94%. And I'm moving now to item 8H, which is the commuter transit pilot project. And so just before I call for this motion, well, actually, I'll call for the motion, get it on the table, and then I'll just speak briefly to it. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron, that the Municipality Council 1 participate in the community service pilot project from Brockville to Cardinal in partnership with the City of Brockville, the Town of Prescott, and the Township of Augusta by supporting the grant proposal submission to the Eastern Ontario Leadership Council. And that 2, set an upset amount of $10,000 subject to the successful grant being received for the township share the costs for the pilot project being funded through the modernization fund, following the confirmation that the Town of Prescott, Township of Augusta also contributed to the pilot project, and that R3, that the contribution is subject to council approval of details being provided for the pilot project, and 4, that council will only consider participating in the pilot project beyond the initial 6 months phase if the project proves to be self-sustainable. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so I just want to speak to this briefly. I have several long discussions with the CAO about this application, and I think we all understand that our participation is subject to the approval of the grant. And I think also the briefing note and the information that we have in front of us tells us that the grant from the Ontario Leadership Council would be around $25,000. But if you read the briefing note in its entirety, you'll see that a 6-month project is going to have a cost, if I recall correctly, of around $70,000. And if I recall correctly, it anticipates a financial contribution from the riders of $5 per ride. Now, it's my strong feeling that $5 per ride over a 6-month period will not come anywhere near close to financing 70,000 once the grant is exhausted. My worry is what happens before the grant is exhausted. And so that's where I'm asking the mover and the seconder, and the seconder is Councillor Cameron, if they will entertain 2 friendly amendments to the motion. And if they'll entertain 2 friendly amendments, I will just write them in on the existing motion as it's here in front of me. The first one comes in clause number 3, that the contribution is subject to council approval of the details being provided for in the pilot project. I wouldn't want anybody to think that we had approved the project. I should have said reviewed it. And the reason I'm saying that is that if we get 2 months into the project and we see that the money that we've got is going to be exhausted, I don't want somebody saying to us, well, you approved the project, so you can't have a $10,000 limit because we're incurring a $70,000 for 6 months here. Now that's the first thing.
What would you want, Mr. Council, not?
No, not approved, just review.
Review and not approve.
Yeah, and then we can't be accused of approving the project. We just reviewed it. So would the mover and the seconder agree to that?
That the contribution subject to council's review of details being provided for the pilot project.
Yes.
I'll accept that.
Okay, and the seconder?
Yes.
All right, now the second change is in item number 4, and that council will only consider participating in the pilot project beyond the initial 6-month phase if the project proves to be financially self-sustainable. And would the mover and the seconder agree to the word financially being put in there?
Why financially? We're gonna have to, if it goes on more, we all know we're gonna have to give some money towards this project.
Ah, there's the rub.
I'm sorry.
There's the rub.
Well, that's.
We might just well have the debate right now. Looking for direction here.
I was under the impression that the upset limit was $10,000.
That's for the pilot project.
Yeah.
Anything after 6 months, we all know here at this table, it's gonna cost money to participate.
Is council prepared to get into a transportation
In the transportation
program
We all know that.
I am not.
with tax dollars?
I am not. Tell you that right up front.
You know where I stand, I voted against it in the first place, so I'm still against it, so even the pilot project.
And you see, I'll go as far as the pilot project, but I won't go beyond it.
I think debating what the outcome of the pilot project is before we actually see it. I think I know what the outcome of it is as well, but
Me too.
I want to see the pilot project happen.
Me too.
And then I think it'll be much easier and clearer to find for us for the decisions we need to make 6 months down the road or before 6 months down the road.
And I think you're bang on the money. But I look at what private industry has done already in the transportation field, nothing, because they know they can't produce a profit, so they're not gonna do it. So as far as I'm concerned, I just don't want to get involved in transportation with taxpayers' dollars.
What happens if it costs us $50,000 and we get a grant from our tax, from our gas tax towards it, $50,000?
Yeah, then you don't build roads. Gas tax is only X dollars. You either build roads with it or you supply transportation. One or the other.
Why can't we do both?
Because you only have X dollars.
So what happens if they give us additional $50,000 for someone?
Nobody does that.
Nobody does that.
Your gas tax is a percentage of the amount of is a percentage of what is raised from the federal gas tax. It's an allocated amount based on a number of factors, one of which is population. And I don't know what the other factors are, but I mean, we know from the calculations roughly what we're going to get from the gas tax each year.
Could we leave it the way it is, the second one, and then come back after the 6 months phase?
Well, unless the word financially is in there, and we clearly signal to, I mean, the Councillor Bursey from Brockville has made it pretty clear that he expects everybody to be on board after the pilot project. He's made that very clear. It's in the public domain. I have two people in, co-deputy mayor and then councillor.
Sure, so-
Do you want back in again?
Just two quick points. One, last week, the feds announced, I think it was close to $1 billion in support for rural transportation initiatives. So there's definitely across Canada going to be a lot of money for grants for projects just like this. Will they make them self-sustaining for the long term? I don't think so, but they'll certainly help with some of the costs. When it comes to what Councillor Bursey said, with all due respect to Councillor Bursey, I think, you know, Brockville has a transportation network already that doesn't function at a profit. It's definitely a service for the people of Brockville. I think his concern is that, you know, we run a pilot project and, you know, the results come out one way or the other and everybody abandons the project. Well, I don't think we get involved without doing without doing the pilot project. So, you know, with all due respect to his comments, we're certainly not, I'm not going to commit to it long-term before I see any results from any project, from any pilot. So.
Well, it's as simple, as I read the table here, Councillor Cameron wants in next and then Councillor Hunter.
Yeah. Also too, let's not forget, there's already organizations out there that offer services for transportation from various points to the larger centers, Brockville being one of them, Cornwall, Ottawa, and Kempville, and so on. CPHC is one of them. There's others out there. They're handled by volunteer drivers who only get mileage, so much per kilometer, and it's enough to cover your mileage, your gasoline, depreciation, and maybe throw a little insurance in there too. So I just forget what I'm going to say roughly 50 cents a kilometer. So you know, do the math and take it from there. But there are already organizations doing exactly the same thing, and these organizations take them door to door, or they'll take them door to store, or whatever. So, and all they have to do is call CPHC, the transportation department, and register, and that's it.
Councillor Hunter.
Well, I think just, you can say you gotta get involved in the pilot project, know where it's going. You don't have to get involved in it. You just look at the stats, what they did there. There isn't one stat on there that shows that there's going to be any use of that ridership there. Everyone they're off, they're low percentages, everything from the businesses and everything they surveyed that their people are going to use this service. So you don't have to run it to know what's going to happen. It's just going to be $10,000 wasted, and $10,000 isn't going to cover it for 6 months, I'm sure of it.
Well, even our 10 with their 25 is only 35, it's
exactly.
only halfway to 70.
You're going to have money, and to start a project and then say you have a better idea in 6 months that you can quit it. I've been around the council table long enough. Once you start a service, no matter how much money you're losing on it, you cut it off and see what the response is gonna be, even if there's only 10 people from Cardinal using it and 5 from Johnstown using it. You're gonna hear from everybody, oh, well, you started the service, now you cut it off. Like, you're far better to just stay out of it in the first place. Fires you never make money. Masonic Lodge run a transportation service out of Smith Falls for 15 years. We lost anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a year with volunteer drivers and getting 45 cents a kilometer for doing it. We were out money every year until we just couldn't sustain it any longer. We had 2 cars that we had to keep up and drive. And when the cars got to $35,000 a piece or so, because they had to be all handicapped equipped and stuff, we had to drop it. We couldn't even do it with everything volunteer. And we had guys that were mechanics that were doing the repair works and stuff for nothing on them, and we couldn't sustain it. So you're not going to do it where you're paying every single person to work on it.
Well, you know, and so here's the dilemma that we have. I mean, Deputy Mayor wants to speak, but here's the dilemma that we have. We backed ourselves into this because remember the original discussion was whether our staff would even participate in discussions. And we finally agreed that, well, they would participate as time was available. Now here we are, we're even deeper into the project. And unless the word is clear that we're not going beyond the pilot project, initial 6-month phase, unless the project proves itself to be financially self-sustainable, the motion is going to fail. So it's up to the mover and the seconder. I mean, and even if that word financially is put in there as a friendly amendment from the mover and the seconder, there's no guarantee that this motion is going to pass.
I'll run with that then.
To add financially?
Yep. Yep.
And you'll agree as a friendly amendment?
Yeah, I will right now.
Can I?
Well,
Okay, so I have the mover and the seconder agreeing to add the word friendly as a financially as a to add the word financially as a friendly amendment to the motion. All right.
Where is that, Mr. Mayor? The council will only consider participating in the pilot project beyond the initial 6 months phase if the project proves to be financially.
Self-sustainable.
So.
All right, now,
So,
Deputy Mayor.
thank you. And it's just.
Now you're speaking to the full motion.
Yes, and it's just a food for thought. To me, we have a very, very large project in the job site challenge.
Right.
And we do have, I believe, an international site selector going to be making a visit to this area between now and July 1st. And if that happens, the fact that we have a possibility, even a pilot project of regional transportation, I see that as a check on an international site selector's checklist, simply because if we're comparing ourselves to places like Oshawa or other parts of Ontario that may have commuter networks set up, I see that as giving us a check. So if it's a small amount to move us towards another box being checked by a site selector, I'm all for it.
Good points.
whoa. That's different.
Like that?
I like that.
Anybody else want to speak to the motion?
Yeah, well, I'd just like to say too, it gives us an opportunity. I mean, our provincial government's been stressing it. They've been giving us money, modernization, work a little smarter and work with other townships and towns. And it's a great opportunity that we're working with the town of Prescott and Township of Augusta.
You don't know that.
Oh, so this is why we have the motion here with both of them.
Well, it says subject to.
Exactly. So if they're not, at least we're going forward. And we're willing to work with the town of Prescott and the Township of Augusta. And it says that in And number two, Mr. Mayor.
It says following confirmation that.
Right.
We don't have that at this point.
I'm saying we're willing to work with the town of Prescott and the township of Augusta.
We say that, yes.
Thank you.
But has there been any update on that?
Mr. Mayor, no, I have not had any further update.
Counselor?
Well, the deputy mayor makes a nice presentation, that it might check a box for the job site challenge. I think that's so far in right field. If anybody knows if there's a huge industrial project move in there, then the transportation system might become viable, and that'll be a public domain, and somebody will jump. There's a need for transportation to come to a plant where there's 1,000 or 1,500 people work. Somebody will soon put it into play. It won't be run by a site municipality, so.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, my point wasn't to making it viable post being selected. It was to get us to be selected.
Well, I see your point. I just don't think that that's going to be.
Anyways, here's our motion on the.
Yep, you want me to call the question on the motion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I do.
Okay.
I'd like it recorded too, please.
Yeah, let's finish her up.
Now the mayor's gonna speak last, and he's gonna have a hard time with this one, because I agree with Councillor Hunter. But the deputy mayor makes a strong point about ticking a box. And I'm not gonna make the decision until the very last minute, gonna call my name last.
Well, before you call the question, then, I'll go one more step if you'll allow.
Well,
And that would be, we to secure the job site challenge, to this date have spent a lot, a decent amount of money. And to continue it, we're going to spend a decent amount of money. And if this goes anywhere near towards getting us where we need to do, $10,000 from modernization fund is a very, very small amount of money towards getting the job site challenge completed.
tough arguments. Okay, about to call the question, Councillor, and Councillor Dillabaugh has asked for a recorded vote. Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
This is why I've always wanted my name to be Z-Bell. Sorry about that, Mr. Mayor. Well, I like to tick boxes. Yay.
Councillor Dillabaugh, how do you
Yay.
vote? Councillor Hunter?
Nay.
Deputy Mayor?
Yay.
Okay, the mayor will vote nay. And so the motion is going to be carried 3-2. And the mayor is going to hope that nobody noticed that he voted nay when the site selector appears on the scene. Yeah, that's what he did. Well, I know where this is going. All right, 8I, poll banners for township communities. Councillor Hunter. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. You're correct.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that municipal council approve the installation of Remembrance Day theme banners funded from the Community Improvement Plan Strategy budget, and direct staff to proceed with the project as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities.
Okay, the motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And 8J, 2020 Cardinal Water System Summary Report. Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, the municipal council receive and review the 2020 annual water supplementary report for the Cardinal Water System as recommended by Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities.
Thank you very much. Discussed at the committee level. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And item number 8K, which is Cardinal Wastewater System Report. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you again. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter, that Municipal Council, 1, receive and review the 2020 annual report for the Cardinal Wastewater Treatment Plant, and 2, direct staff to submit the report to MECP and to make the report available to the public, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And moving then to 8L. And 8L is Cardinal Industrial, Edwardsburg Industrial Park System. Councillor, or Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Yes, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that Municipal Council receive and review the 2020 Water Summary Report for the Edwardsburg Industrial Park Water System, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Now, item 8M is the 2021 Industrial Park Sewer Budget. And I'm lost here. Just give me 1 second.
It's me again.
Yes, but where am I? 8M. So let's go ahead.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that Municipal Council adopt the 2021 budget estimates and maintain the current fee structure for 2021 for the Industrial Park Sewer System, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. 8N, the 2021 Industrial Park Water Budget. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Council Cameron, that the Municipality Council adopt the 2021 budget estimate and maintain a current fee structure for 2021 for the Industrial Park Water System, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Service, and Facilities.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. All right, now 8O, regulate off-road vehicles within the township. Councillor Hunter.
Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Dermish, that the Municipal Council approve the draft short form wording for the off-road vehicle bylaw, set fines, and direct staff to submit for the review and approval to the Ministry of the Attorney General, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Okay, so I'm going to call the question on this. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Now, did you have something to raise as a result of that?
I just was going to ask you to record it, and I just had one question if we had considered our neighbors, and in respect to item 3.6. But if you want to just record the vote, I'll just register mine as no.
So you're asking for the recorded vote after the fact.
I'm hand up.
Okay. Now, I'm just pointing out that this drafted, all we're doing here at this point is approving the drafted short form wording for the off-road vehicle bylaw set fines and directing staff to submit that for review and approval to the Ministry of the Attorney General. Now, we don't have a motion in front of us to deal with what roads we're allowing them on.
We do later.
I don't recall seeing it.
The bylaw down at,
It's the
E.
bylaw.
Okay, all right, so that's where it comes.
Actually, you know what? I'm perfectly fine with the fee structure.
Okay, so
Mine's
that, you want the recorded vote when it comes to the actual mapping?
number 3 on the bylaw.
Oh, yeah,
Not
okay, number 3 in the
I know how
bylaw.
it's gonna be. It's okay.
All right, okay, so that motion is carried. 8-0 is carried.
Yeah, we're good.
All right, so now I'm on 8P, which is the 2020 Port of Johnstown Revenue and Expense Report. I think that's the 2021 budget, revenue and expense report. And that's Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hunter, that municipal council receives and approves the Port of Johnstown's 2021 budget revenues and expense report as recommended by the Port Management Committee.
All right, and those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. All right, now 8Q, the 2021 Port of Johnstown capital budget estimates. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and second by Councilor Karen that the municipality council receives and approves the Port Johnstown 2020 capital budget in the amount of $943,000, plus a carryover in the amount of $7,540,301 for a net estimate spending of $6,317,583, and funding is received as recommended by the Port Management Committee. We're worried about $10,000.
Different pot of money. Discussion, if any? Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. All right, now I'm on 8R, which is the minutes of settlement for Greenfield Ethanol, Deputy Mayor Deschamps. And I don't have that motion.
You will in a second.
Yeah.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter. The municipal council approve and accept the minutes of settlement for the 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020 taxation years for the roll. Bear with me.
Roll number.
Roll number 0701-701-030-09950-0000 and refund the property owner accordingly and direct the treasurer to transfer the funds required to offset this write-off from the tax write-off reserve 01-3512.
All right, now, this has not been discussed at the committee level, but it does have minutes of settlement, I guess, that have been signed by the treasurer. So we have the briefing note in front of us that shows that the township portion of the refund will be $35,000. The county portion of the refund will be $20,400 and some. And the education portion of the refund will be $27,475 and pennies. And the total refund to the property owner for those 4 taxation years will be $83,481. So is there any further discussion on this issue?
Mr. Mayor, why all of a sudden they're all coming out? It's like leap year.
Yes, well, that's
Is it
because,
because they get only so many times?
no, it's because the base year for assessment was January the 1st, 2016. And assessment notices were applied to taxation years 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. So when the assessments came out sometime during the year 2016, all of these companies appealed their assessments, all at approximately the same time. They all have consulting companies who do nothing but appeal assessments. So Ingredient appealed, and so did Greenfield. And sometime between the time the assessment notices were issued in 2016 and today, minutes of settlement were agreed to by MPAC and the company and by our consultant. I mean, United Counties generally is involved in that negotiation process. This is something that wasn't discussed at the committee level, so I don't want to go into a lot of detail about something that I don't know anything about. But generally, when those negotiations are taking place, the county has an employee named Mr. Pablo, who is there. He's an ex-MPAC employee who is there to represent the county interest and the township interest in these matters. Now, beyond that, I can't say anymore. To the CAO, was our treasurer involved in these negotiations?
Yes, I will certainly, Mr. Mayor, I will defer to the treasurer so she can provide you a little more of an update.
So through the chair, I was kept advised of all the discussions. I was not actually included in negotiating because I don't think that's really how the process works. The MPAC provides an assessed value, and the DMA or the tax company provides an explanation of the appellant's position. And they certainly go back and forth with their reasonings, and they do come up with that. I was a party to that, and I kept both Mr. Pablo and the United Counties solicitor, John Simpson, advised of all the documentation that I received. I did circulate these minutes to both the county person as well as the solicitor, and they agreed these are fair settlements. A lot of it was it's pertaining to the air liquide, so the tanks that were built. So it wasn't just a straight 2016 assessed value change. There was a supplemental bill issued in this time frame as well that was questioned. So the treatment of those tanks was mainly in question.
And how were the tanks initially treated by MPAC?
Some of the tanks were initially treated as assessable property. And there's legislation that in the Assessment Act that states that if these tanks are part of the processing, they're machinery as opposed to a structure. So they removed some of the value with those. They did, however, found some other areas when they did a site visit that they put assessed value on. So that basically resulted in the smaller amount of assessment change, and it's just a reallocation of assessment from JT, which is industrial taxable, to XT, which is new construction.
Okay, so further questions?
No, thank you. Just keepers. We lost a lot of money in the last couple of years.
Yep.
Sure. It's trouble.
And one other question through the CAO to the treasurer, if I may. So the amount that gets taken out of our reserve account for these kinds of refunds, is it the 35 or the 83?
The 35, just our portion.
Okay, and so what does that do to our reserve fund?
I believe the information item suggests that our reserve fund right now is at 90. Where's the number? 92,000. So that amount, that 35 will come out of the 92 and reduce that by that amount.
Okay, fair enough. That it?
Yeah, thank you. Just keepers.
Okay. And did I call a question on this yet? No, I don't think I did. So I'm about to call the question. Those in favor? Motion is carried.
I have no choice.
All right. And so now I'm moving on to item number 8S, the Universal Broadband Fund Letter of Support for Bell Canada. Councillor Hunter.
For myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, the municipal council authorizes the mayor to finalize and submit the letter of support for Bell's application to ISED for the Universal Broadband Fund.
Thank you very much. Yep, go ahead.
Do we know exactly the location that that this is? Is it Spencerville? Or is it possibly an overlap of what Cogeco's
I'm glad you asked that question because I was going to indicate to council that this is authorizes the mayor to finalize and submit. I need more detail myself. So I'm not going to actually finalize or submit until I'm clear in my mind what ISED is and what the Bell application is all about.
Yeah, those are,
So this just authorizes it, it doesn't direct it. So are you prepared to vote on the motion as it is in front of you?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried.
So you don't know, Mr. Mayor? If it,
Well, I do, but I only in a vague way. I don't know the detail that I need to have to be comfortable.
but the area, is it Spencer or is it no overlap in the number 2?
Well, my understanding is that it overlaps to the number 2 because of the changes that they're making to the tower on Prairie Road.
Right,
That's my understanding, but I want that confirmed.
thank you.
Okay, so now I'm on item number, where am I? Item number 8T on this agenda, which is the Township and the Port Insurance Award. And Deputy Mayor Deschamps, I think you have that motion.
I do. And just for clarification, when I move this, it doesn't indicate support, correct?
If you're a mover, it does.
Okay, then I wish to remove my moving of it then.
Okay, mover is always required to support the motion that they move.
That's how I thought procedure worked too, so I will need, somebody else will have to pick it up. Councillor Hunter is the seconder at this time, but I'm not gonna support it as it's written. So somebody else will have to pick it up and move it.
What is it?
Okay. It's the assurance reward to Frank Callan and BFL. So it would be for Callan for.
Because the way the motion is written, the operative clause says, therefore be it resolved that council of the corporation of the township of Bedwardsburg Cardinal adopt the Somerset Insurance Consulting recommendation and appoint BFL Canada Risk and Insurance for the Port Insurance Program from March the 5th, 21 to March the 5th, 2022, and appoint Frank Callan Company Limited for the Township General Insurance Program from March 1, 2021 to March 1, 2022. So that's why the deputy mayor doesn't want to move it, because he wants to see BFL appointed to both.
Right, you have to just change the motion.
Yes, I can change the motion if I can find if you want to make, you can make, well, a motion not on the floor yet.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there any chance that there is another draft of this? And could staff prepare this?
No, this is the motion that I have in front of me. You're in possession of the motion.
This is it. Okay, so we need to make some changes.
Yes, and
Or not, I guess. Somebody
Well-
else wants to pick it up and move it as it is.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move an amendment to the motion.
well, I can't because I have no motion on the floor.
Motion on the floor.
No,
No,
it's
it's
not. I
not.
haven't moved it.
Okay, put the motion on the floor.
All right, so I will move. It's going to be half an hour. Right?
Well, just read the operative clause.
There's 3 2.
And the point is, I think we have to, as well, when we're talking about amendments, we have to remove that section about adopting his recommendations. So that has to come out.
Yeah, there's
We're
one
not
other
adopting his recommendations.
higher up. There's one more reference.
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's up to you whether you want to read all the rationale clauses or not, but I think we understand where the issue is.
I think I have to get it on the table before we do.
Yeah, you have to get it on the table first.
Okay, so moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter. And then, so now I can go just to the now therefore be it resolved.
Yep.
Okay. So now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal adopt the Somerset Insurance Consulting recommendations and appoint BFL Canada Risk and Insurance for the Port Insurance Program from March 5th, 2021 to March 5th, 2022, and appoint Frank Cowan Company Limited for the Township General Insurance Program from March 1st, 2021 to March 1st, 2022. Okay, now it's in your hands. Cowan's right where my thumb is.
Yep. All right, so the motion's on the floor.
I wish to make a movement amendment to the motion.
Tell me what you want to do.
See where that upper clause is.
I think we want to move.
Well, I'm just trying to see where the recommendation is from company.
The only change that we really need to make,
Well, the only real change we need is that
we just,
At the end, Frank Cowan.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a suggestion?
go ahead.
So that it be amended to now therefore be it resolved that the council of the corporation of the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal appoint BFL Canada Risk and Insurance for the port insurance program from March 5th, 2021 to March 5th, 2022, and the township general insurance program from March 1st, 2021 to March 1st, 2022.
just straight out of my Frank Cowan.
Yes. So we'd be just striking out words.
Place in there where we accept
Now,
recommendation.
just a minute. Now I have to get the
You are taking out the Somerset Insurance Consultant recommendation too out?
yeah. So no, I'm just taking it out of the operative clause because the only reference to it in the rationale clause is that they prepared an RFP summary report and findings, and that is true. They did.
Yeah.
So that can stay. There's nothing wrong with that.
But at the last.
Okay, so now here's the way the operative clause will read. And I have the motion to remove the following words from the operative clause. And it's been moved by Councillor Hunter. Is someone seconding Councillor Hunter's amendment? Who's seconding Councillor Hunter's amendment? I have Councillor Dillabaugh seconding the amendment. Now here's the way the amendment. Here's the amendment. The amendment removes the words adopt the Somerset Insurance Consulting recommendations and then remove the words appoint Frank Cowan Company Limited. Those are the words being removed. Right? Now, we're going to vote on the amendment only. Those in favor of the amendment to remove those words. Let me see your hands. Those in favor? All right, so the amendment is carried. And I show it carried as 3-2.
Correct.
3 in favor, 3 yeas, and 2 nays. All right, now I'm going to call the question on the amended resolution. And the operative clause of the amended resolution reads as follows. Now therefore be it resolved that Council of the Corporation of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal appoint BFL Canada Risk and Insurance for the Port Insurance Program from March 5, 2021 to March 5, 2022, and for the Township General Insurance Program from March 1, 2021 to March 1, 2022. So there's the motion. Discussion, further discussion on the motion.
Recorded vote, Mr. Mayor.
And recall requested by Councillor Cameron.
At the end of that, Mr. Mayor, shouldn't we have where Franktown, appoint Franktown Company, appoint BFL, no?
We just took it out.
Just
We
took
did.
it out.
Frank Town's not even mentioned.
No, where I said where Franktown was, should we put
No, you're up.
BFL?
Yeah, listen to the words. Listen to the words. That the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal appoint BFL Canada Risk and Insurance for the Port Insurance Program from
Yeah.
and for the Township General Insurance Program from We're appointing them to both. That's what the motion
Good.
says. Okay, I'm calling the question on the motion. It's been requested that there be a recorded vote. Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
Nay.
Councillor Dillabaugh, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Hunter, how do you vote?
Yay.
Deputy Mayor Deschamps, how do you vote?
Yay.
And Sale votes nay. So the vote carries 3 in favor, 2 against.
That's our democratic system at work.
That's it. That's how it works.
Also, can we request after this passed now, can we request our CEO to look into the recommendations by our advisor to upset the limits of
Property
property
Deductibles.
deductible?
deductibles, yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'm just gonna turn that over to the CAO. There was recommendation from Somerset to increase the deductibles. And also there was an indication from BFL that they would examine that $250,000 deductible on the water treatment plant, right?
AIG.
So we've appointed them. Now it'll be interesting to see whether they can perform, won't it? So I think, Mr. CAO, we leave that in your hands, but I suggest that you go back to Mr. White and have him negotiate that, because although the appointment has been made, I don't think the terms of his engagement still apply here. And he's the one with the relationship between those various providers. Okay, so I'm at item number 9 on the agenda, which is the council correspondence. And Councillor Dillabaugh, you have that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron that Municipality Council receives the correspondence listing for the following dates as previous circulated. January 29th, 2021, February 8th, 2021, February 12th, 2021, and February 19th, 2021.
Thank you very much. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And item number 10 on the agenda is approval of the disbursement sheets. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hunter, that municipal council approves the payment of municipal invoices circulated and dated as follows. Report dated January 29th, 2020-159, $91,844.64. Report dated January 31st, 2021-001, $105,727.80. Report dated February 2nd, 21-003, $69,485.45. Report dated February 11th, 2021, 008, $54,114.12. Report dated February 16th, 2021-009, $142,511.56. Report dated February 7th, 2021-010, $302,822.08 for a total of $766,505.65.
Very good. Discussion, if any.
I have one,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
On page 289 of 358, Clyde and Company Canada, Bell Insurance claim, $4,250.89.
Sorry, where's your, I'm on page 289. Where's your thing?
It'd be the third one down.
Yes, Bell Insurance claim.
Clyde and Company Canada, yes, $4,250.89. What is that Bell Insurance claim?
Through the CIO, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is an ongoing insurance claim from back in 2018.
So did we lose?
That is part of the deductible.
Oh, what did they claim?
They're claiming a substantially higher loss than that. It's still ongoing, so I will.
Why was this never brought to committee?
I believe that that was brought up at the time, and it's been ongoing for a while.
I don't recall this claim.
Is hydro line.
Is that the
Bell
Pittston
line?
Road?
It is not. It is.
Johnstown?
It may be the Pittston one, but not that location.
Oh,
So.
Down on the side when they're putting the culvert in, wasn't they, dug up the line?
Yes, some time ago, yes.
Yeah.
so that's just that's not the end of it though.
That is not the end of it as of right now. It's still ongoing.
Can we have a report on that at the Min Finance Committee meeting, please?
I will provide committee with an update.
Other questions with regard to the disbursement sheet before I call the question? Councillor Cameron.
Yes, this is just a general information question regarding, possibly the Director of Operations could answer it for me, so through the chair. It regards tractor number one, or grader number one, and the first entry is
Page reference?
yes, I'm going to give you that in just 1 second, Mr. Mayor. It's on page 288, and it's under Black Dog Morrisburg. $188.17 for a tire repair. I understand that, but then further on in the report, there's another tire repair for the same vehicle, and actually it's on page 293 under, no, I'm sorry, that's not it. For the very same amount, different invoices, so I'm not saying that's the same billing. I'm just wondering whether it was the same tire that went flat. I'm just curious about that, and what was the cause of the flat. Just thinking that I don't know if there's any warranty on grader tires or not. I don't know. So just a question. If can be answered tonight, that's fine. If not, I'll accept an email at a later date.
So it's exactly the same amount on a different,
Exactly the same amount, exactly the same unit.
but you don't know where on this, the second one is?
Oh, yeah, I thought I did.
It is on page 296.
296?
296.
Correct.
Yes, I'm sorry, I thought I put that out. And again, it's under Black Dog Morrisburg, grader one, and it Public Works tire repair.
On different invoice numbers?
Different invoice numbers, yes, Mr. Mayor, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I'll defer to the Director of Operations, but it's unlikely that he has that information at this particular moment.
I do not.
Okay, so what we will do is I will update council with that information.
That'll be fine. Thank you, Mr. CAO. And Mr. Mayor, I do believe that's all I have at the moment. But if anybody else, I may come back if anyone else has any questions. I'm just scrolling through my.
Okay, any other questions here before I call the question? No other questions before I call the question. Those in favor? Approving the disbursement sheet.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Now, just give me 1 second because that goes here. And that goes there. All right, now I'm at bylaws number 11 on the agenda. And bylaw 11A is the fire safety plan box bylaw. Councillor Dillabaugh, you're bringing that one forward, I think.
Yes. You ready, Mr. Mayor?
Well, just give me 1 second. Yes, I am.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cameron, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to respect to the installation and maintenance of fire safety plan box. And this shall consist of first and second reading thereof.
Okay, this was discussed. First and second reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Proceed to third reading.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron that the bylaw with respect to the installation and maintenance of the fire safety plan box be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2021-05. Oh, sorry. Yep.
Third reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And proceeding then to 11B, J&D Enterprise Service Agreement, Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to authorize the execution of a service agreement with J&D Enterprises, O/A of the Eastern Ontario Boneyard for the enhanced recycling program, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
First and second reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Go to third reading.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that a bylaw to authorize the execution of a service agreement with J&D Enterprises, OA, the Eastern Ontario Boneyard for the enhanced recycling program be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2021-06.
OA, Operating Addis. Third reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And moving now then to the port salt storage lease, 11C, Councillor Cameron.
Yes, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to authorize the mayor, clerk, and port general manager to execute a storage lease agreement with K&S Windsor Salt Limited, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to call the question on this one, but just draw your attention to the fact that we're cause number, or excuse me, operative cause number 1 of the bylaw enacts as follows, that the mayor, clerk, and port general manager are hereby authorized to execute the storage lease agreement with K&S Windsor Salt attached hereto as Schedule A. The attachment will be added after the bylaw passes tonight. The bylaw, the lease itself is proprietary information. So calling the question on first and second reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously, and so you can proceed to third reading.
Thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that the bylaw to authorize the mayor, clerk, and port general manager to execute a storage lease agreement with K&S Windsor Salt Limited be now read a third time, finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2021-07.
And calling the question on third reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so now proceeding to 11D, which is the interim tax bylaw, Councillor Hunter.
Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to authorize an interim tax levy in advance of the adoption of tax rate for 2021. This shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Interim tax bylaw, first and second reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously. You can proceed.
Moved by myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that a bylaw to authorize an interim tax levy in advance of the adoption of the tax rates for 2021 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2021-08.
Thank you very much. Third reading, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And now I'm proceeding to 11E, which is to regulate off-road vehicles in the township. And this is Councillor Hunter bringing this forward. And I believe this is the one that Deputy Mayor Deschamps was interested in. So, Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to regulate the operation of off-road vehicles, access on designated municipal highways and on open road allowances with the township of Edgeburg Cardinal, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Okay, I'll call the question on first and second reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I've got unanimous on the first and second reading? All right, so you can proceed to third reading.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that a bylaw to regulate the operation of off-road vehicles of access on designated municipal highways and on open road allowances for the township of Edgeburg Cardinal be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, numbered 2021-09.
Okay, third reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried.
That's the one I wanted to record.
Now, you still want it recorded?
Yeah, I do. I let it pass.
You
'cause I
voted
didn't-
in favor of it.
I let it pass because I didn't want to delay it.
Yeah, okay, but I
Still-
call it third reading. All right, so Deputy Mayor wants a recorded vote on third reading. Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Dillabaugh, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Hunter, how do you vote?
Yay.
Deputy Mayor Deschamps, how do you vote?
Nay.
And the mayor votes yea. So it's still carried 4-1. And that is that one. And now I'm on item 11F, the item that I asked to have withdrawn.
So do you want that withdrawn, Mr. Mayor? Do you
Yes,
want-
I do.
So-
You agree to withdraw the motion? You're in possession of the motion.
Well, what does our clerk say about that?
You have advice from your insurance advisor.
Can I have an advice from my clerk though, that I work with every day?
To the CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll turn that over to the clerk.
Through the chair. So as mentioned previously, we do best practice where we follow the Municipal Act on section 280 that states that the municipality may do insurance. So it is up to the will of council whether or not they want to pass the bylaw. It is a may instead of a shall. We just have done it as best practice in the past to keep track of it, as well as to have an official bylaw rather than just a resolution appointing the insurance broker of record.
You're quoting section 280 of the Municipal Act?
Correct.
Okay, well, it's up to you, Councillor, whether you want to put it on the floor or not.
Well, keepers, I don't want to, if our clerk says we should, I think we should.
It says may. The act says may. If I heard the clerk correctly.
That is correct.
By myself and seconded by Council Cameron, that the mover be granted a leave to introduce a bylaw to appoint insurance brokers for the municipality and Port of Johnstown, and this shall constitute a first and second reading thereof.
Discussion, if any?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
You too.
Mr. Mayor, I remember when broker of record first came up way back in, I think, 2005, when we were approached by a local insurance firm to be the carrier of our policy. And way back then, we had a real problem understanding brokers of record and whatnot, and we've had consultants come in and tell us about it and everything else. Personally, if we don't need this, if we don't need this bylaw, as far as I'm concerned, let's drop it right now. Because I can just see somewhere down the line, another insurance company is gonna come up and say, we want to be your broker of record. And we're gonna be back in the same situation again. So if we don't need it, and we've heard from a consultant that we really don't need it, then let's get rid of it.
Deputy Mayor?
The 2 points to it's page 252 of 258.
252.
Or 352, excuse me, at 358, sorry, my bad. Where number 2, I think this is what we're voting on, correct? This bylaw, so number 2 wouldn't be correct anymore. Correct. And we have 2 number 2s in there for a clerical note that I had as well. So even if we are, we still have to change that wording.
This is the bylaw now.
Well, if we drop number 2, the one that references Frank Cow, and then the other number 2 is survives.
It's good.
Oh, no, we have
But it
to
still
repeal
has-
it. Yeah, no, that stays because that still has to be repealed.
That number 2 does. So, but the first number 2
Has to come out.
would have to come out, and we would have to add to number 1, and township
General insurance program,
yeah, for March 1st, 2021.
last sentence too.
I think.
Oh, sorry. Clark's got her hand up.
Sorry,
Sorry.
through the chair, I actually provided the CAO with a alternative draft, which references BFL for both appointments. So he has that in his possession for you.
I do someplace.
We lost them.
I know I'm texting Dave now. Sorry, through the chair, everyone is muted right now.
We're muted.
Why are we muted?
I just lost for 1 second.
We lost connection.
Okay, should be good.
Thank you.
An underwriter will not quote the 2 brokers if one claims to be a broker of record, and that's where I'm having real problems with this. Because I don't think we're getting best service, but let's see what happens here. I'm voting against this one, and I'm gonna call for a recorded vote.
So
And remember, folks, that you're voting taxpayers' dollars here. You're either protecting your taxpayer or you're protecting a broker, one or the other. Can't do both. Gonna call the question. You want to
I
speak?
just want a clarification here, because I sat in council for a lot of years for Veteranburg here, and we never had a broker or a record. Frank Cullen was our tax one, but he was never had a bylaw that designated him as a broker or record. So when did this come into being that we started appointing a broker or record? It always just, we awarded the contract for, sometimes we awarded it for a 2-year term that we had if we thought we got it. At the time there, sometimes we could negotiate a better deal if we went 2 years and guaranteed them 2 years, and they were active first for the 2 years, but we didn't. I don't know where this broker record come from. We started.
Can I provide some background? So for years and years and years, insurance providers such as down the street, Purcell, were known as insurance agents.
Yeah.
They were described as agents operating on behalf of the company. Okay, so they were agents for the companies that they represented. That whole thing changed when they became brokers.
Yeah.
Because once they became brokers, they were no longer acting on behalf of the underwriters. They were acting on behalf of the clients, and they were placing the client's interest because the client is paying their commission. You heard me ask him about their commission. The client is paying the commission. So they're a broker that surveys the underwriters to see where they can get the best coverage for the client. That makes them brokers. Now they become brokers of record when you appoint them to that position, because what that basically means is once they claim to be your broker of record and they approach that underwriter and he agrees to provide them with a quote, he also will, in many cases, will say, and the broker can demand it, if you quote to me, you can't quote to anybody else. I'm the broker of record here. And they don't.
And why would they want to? You think an underwriter is gonna have 2 different prices for 2 different brokers? Is that what you're saying?
He may choose to, he may choose not to.
And first of all.
But when you get to the Lloyd's market, you don't even get into that market. You do not get into the Lloyd's market.
Right.
That's one of the reasons that we appointed BFL as broker, because they had access into the Lloyd's market. And we surveyed a number of other companies to see who else could get us port coverage. Nobody else could get access to the Lloyd's market.
But that just because you can't get access to the Lloyd's market doesn't mean there isn't a market for the port.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't, because they had it. This guy here, this company had it, but they had such bad losses, they couldn't help us out, that one company.
No, they chose not to, because the Lloyd's market is not just one underwriter, it's a consortium of underwriters.
I realize that.
Okay, well, if Aon's array of underwriters is not writing new business, they're not writing new business. But if they're quoting to BFL, they're not quoting to Aon. It's as simple as that.
And a broker is when they have more than one company. An agent is when they only have one company.
No, there is no such thing as agents anymore.
There is absolutely an agent. Co-op is an agent. Allstate is an agent. They only have one company they work for.
Well, okay, fair enough.
That's an agent.
Yeah, they're paid by the company.
Rebo, which is your registered insurance brokers, have many companies in their office.
Well, Rebo is not an agent.
Rebo, Registered Insurance Brokers of Ontario.
Yeah, they're the registered insurance brokers of
Right.
Ontario.
Like Purcell's, like
They're members.
Miller's, and so on.
Those are members.
Right, and they have different companies.
Well,
Where the agent only has one, like a co-op. Co-op can't go to Grenville Mutual and say, hey, give me a quote. They can only quote co-op. They can only write business for co-op. Allstate's the same.
because they're agents of the company.
There's only one company.
But co-op is not an underwriter.
Well, yes, co-op is an underwriter. Yes, they underwrite their own business. The agent gets so much from their underwriting. Their underwriters, Allstate's an underwriter. Allstate writes their business. And then the agent gets so much of a commission like this broker does. BFL. Same thing.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just, there seems to be a fair bit of debate, and I thought it might be important to note that with the council resolution that's passed, we have enough to renew that insurance, to move forward without the bylaw.
Yes, I know.
So,
That's the question I asked. Like, I understand what brokers and everything is, but the question I asked was, when did this come out in the section that the clerk's quoting to us? When did the ministry all of a sudden come up with this idea of putting this in? This is a best practice thing to have a bylaw. Because it wasn't here years ago when I was here. There was no request to have a bylaw for it. It was just,
Well, we first appointed a broker of record when we appointed BFL, which is 2006, 2007, 2008, along around about that time. That's the first time that I know that this township appointed a broker of record, but
I'm asking, when?
you had them
I
before?
had them before.
Yeah.
When did the ministry come up?
I think,
I just wondered when the clerk, she's quoting out of a regulation. there.
No, she's quoting municipal act.
Yeah, well, that's the ministry, the municipal act, the ministry. When did they put that in there, mentioning a bylaw?
Well, the
It
act
didn't used
is,
to be in there.
the act is 2001, I think. And I don't think that the act says we may appoint a broker of record.
no, I believe the clerk has indicated made for the insurance.
But the exact wording of section 280 is not in front of us.
She read it to us, so.
Correct. And I can certainly have the clerk read it again. I don't believe that the clerk used the word broker of record.
No, she didn't.
Correct. So as indicated in the bylaw, it has, as this bylaw presents, has broker of record, which is the same bylaw that we used with BFL when we appointed them broker of record back in 2007. That's all.
And it doesn't list it here.
So what are you saying? We don't need this bylaw?
That is what I am saying.
Yeah.
Okay, it's on the floor, we're gonna defeat it.
Okay, so it's on the floor, so we have to deal with it. And I'm gonna, unless there's further discussion, I'm gonna call the question on the motion. Okay, calling the question on the motion. Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
Nay.
Councillor Dillabaugh, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Hunter, how do you vote?
Nay.
Deputy Mayor Deschamps, how do you vote?
Nay.
And the mayor votes nay. The motion is defeated. One in favor, 1 yea, and 4 nay. And the motion is defeated.
So I don't have to read my third one.
No, that's right, you don't.
Don't need that one.
Okay, so now I'm on item number 12.
but you can take this one.
Oh, yeah. Well,
You can, no,
Very much.
okay, so now I'm on the CAO's administrative update. Mr. CAO,
no.
are you still with us?
I will make the motion.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, it's moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Dillabaugh that municipal council receives the CAO's administrative report as presented.
So maybe we should hear his report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know the time is a little after 9 and we do have a closed session with our solicitor. So instead of me highlighting a number of areas, are there any questions that members of council would like to ask for clarification?
Thank you very much, Mr. CAO. Any questions for the CAO before I call the question?
I'm just checking, Mr. Mayor. I'm with you in just one moment here. I do not believe I have any questions. Thank you.
And I'm about to just ask one quick question on page 354, the summer programming. So are we sort of gearing up to act as the pools will open? Is that our plan?
Yes, we're trying to be flexible so that we are preparing as if the pools will open at this particular stage.
And we're bringing in are we going to be actively mounting a summer program?
We will be in the development of a summer program.
Okay, now is the summer program dependent upon the pools opening?
I would certainly say not 100%.
But it's enhancement.
It certainly is an enhancement, yes.
Okay, fair enough. All right, I'm about to call the question on the CAO's report. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried.
That's a good one.
Okay, and so now I'm on number 13. Council inquiries or notices of motion. I hear enough. Oh, yes, I do.
This one, sorry. When we had Ethan Boss here earlier, and you indicated that we would send them as council a copy of the recorded vote.
The resolution.
The resolution, yeah. So in other cases, we often do commemorative scrolls. Is there the opportunity there to send Ethan a commemorative scroll on one side and that resolution on the other side for the great work he's doing in the donor card campaign?
I think the clerk will prepare such a scroll if you like, yes. And would all members of council like to sign it?
Absolutely, sure.
Okay, so the clerk will prepare something and we'll bring it to the next meeting where all members are present.
Perfect idea.
Everybody can sign it. And we'll pass it on to them.
Great.
Now, the clerk can get his mailing address. Any other council inquiries or notices of motion?
No.
Okay, I'm on with the mayor's report. I just have a couple of things to report here. So first of all, with regard to Infrastructure Ontario, I'll just remind council that we provided direction to legal counsel on or about January the 20th. Today is February the 22nd. All we've received from Infrastructure Ontario is acknowledgement that our letter has been received. I've made some inquiries to find out why we haven't heard anything. And today, I took it upon myself to have the CAO arrange a telephone conference with our contact at Infrastructure Ontario, the individual that we've been dealing with since October, asking him when we might expect to receive an answer. Now, he had a long explanation as to why things are taking so long, but indicated that they hope to have us an answer by the end of the month, which is basically the end of this week. I made it very clear to him that I'm looking for the next link up the chain, because I don't think that this communication that we've provided to Infrastructure Ontario has gone very far within that organization. And I say that on the basis of other inquiries that I've made. So this is going, in my opinion, to be an uphill battle. I want to just talk a minute about the job sites challenge. The site selector was announced on February the 8th. I thought that the minister had indicated to us that there would be some announcement concerning the top 10. I've asked for clarification of that announcement, but as of this point, I don't have anything to report as to when that announcement may be made. Now, Deputy Mayor, you have some contacts there. What have you heard?
I quite honestly have not reached out other than, I haven't reached out. I can, but I haven't.
No, I think what we'll do is we'll leave it. if in view of the fact that you haven't heard anything, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna continue to work with the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing and use that avenue, and I may even make some inquiries myself as mayor directly to the minister's office. We'll see. However, in the interim period of time, and although we have no formal announcement, and although we have no reason to know other than strong suggestions that we will be in the top 10, I'm proceeding to make plans for how we will deal with this site selector when he appears. And we know from our delegation with Minister Sarkaria that site selector will visit us sometime between February and June. So it's important that we have a robust plan to present to them, a program. And I just want to indicate that the CAO and I have had an initial conversation with Novatech to put them on notice that we will be wanting them to provide a robust PowerPoint presentation as to how that site should best be serviced. Sewer, water, roads, probably gas, probably fiber optic. So Novatech will be part of our program. The other thing that I'm going to start working on, I'm going to make it sure that council understands it. And again, we have no assurances that we're in the top 10. One of the things that we have to be able to convince the site selector is that this region is capable of providing housing. And to that end, I'm hoping to get some of the other mayors at United Counties of Leeds and Grenville involved, because I know that we have within United Counties of Leeds and Grenville draft site plan approval on enough lots to create something like 1,190 some housing units. That's existing site plan approvals.
How many, Mr. Mayor?
As I recall the number, 1,193. I'll clarify that number.
Thank you.
So it's important that other mayors be involved with this as well. So I'm going to be saying something in public at the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville County Council meeting on Thursday, February the 25th. I just didn't want you folks to be hearing it secondhand. And last thing.
Question, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Has there, I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
I'll give you a chance to catch it up while I go to a second item.
Oh, yeah. Yes, has there been any word going forward at all about the subdivision on Shanley Road in Cardinal? At one time, it sounded like it was hopeful.
Yes, and it's still hopeful. It's still hopeful. The deal that was to have closed did not close. And I'm told that it was closed, and then I reported that to council. And then I was told that, well, there's been a hiccup. But the hiccup has been cured, and March is the date.
Okay.
And I'll confirm that as I know more. And maybe to the CAO, have we had any communication at all from any parties regarding that Charlevoix subdivision?
Mr. Mayor, I believe there was an inquiry either Friday or Monday that we're working on.
Okay, so that's the sign that I'm looking for. Okay, so last thing deals with an issue that we dealt with at one of our meetings, which is the Ferngruber lands. I'm going to talk in public about this. I've been informed that the option that Mega Holdings Inc. Describe themselves as holding with Ferngruber's has ended and will be terminated. And it's not being terminated by Mega Holdings. I don't think it's being terminated by the other party. And the other party, namely Farengruber, appears interested in talking to us. And to that end, they have asked, I asked them, and then they asked me, I asked them if they had received the appraisal report that we had submitted to Mrs. Farengruber. The long and the short of it is that the person that's looking after Mrs. Farengruber's affairs has not seen that appraisal report and has asked to see it. And so tomorrow I'll be providing the CAO with an address where that report is to be sent. And so that basically concludes my report. I don't have anything else to say at this point unless there's questions. And I'm moving on. Go ahead.
One quick one. When we're preparing the team that will approach or be involved with the site selector, will council have any involvement in that process?
Council will be fully involved, all hands on deck. And I'm glad you asked that because I'm hoping that you're going to either be able to redo or find the drone footage that you prepared.
Yeah, I definitely still have it, but I can get a better one than that.
Well, I mean, I think that's critical.
Crash.
Yeah, no, I won't go, I won't have to go trudging through the swamp.
And to be honest with you, I'd like to start the presentation with that drone footage because I think it's rather dramatic and it fully describes the property. You can see that it's all green space, it's all fresh. You know, I mean, so that's a critical piece as far as I'm concerned. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Take it out and do it now. Looks beautiful now. It's all wood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
Okay.
you only have 3 foot of snow to wait through. If it crashes, forget it. A lot of swamp is frozen.
It'll be staying.
So I have a motion,
It's me.
I think, to receive the mayor's report.
Yep, it's me. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that the municipal council receives the mayor's report as presented.
Very good. Thank you very much. Those in favor? Motion is carried. And so then I'm into the question period. Are there any questions? Well, there's nobody present here. Item number 16 is a closed session. Does somebody have a motion to go into a closed session?
I do. Move myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council proceed in closed session at 9:17 PM in order to address a matter pertaining to Section 239, Bracket 2, labor relations or employee negotiations. The union negotiations and minutes of closed session dated January 18th and January 25th, 2021.
Thank you very much. Motion to go into closed session. Those in favor? Motion is carried. Now, does anybody need a 5-minute break?
25th, 2021.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. So reporting further from the closed session. I'll just report that council met in closed session with our negotiator to discuss CUPE negotiations and provided much discussion and limited advice to the negotiators. And now the chair is looking for the motion to bring forward the confirmatory bylaw. Who has the confirmatory bylaw?
I have that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution be now passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2021-11.
Thank you very much. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, and now the chair is looking for the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cameron, that the municipality council does now adjourn at 10:22 PM.
Thank you very much. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried.